The poem that I decided to explicate and analyze for my piece is Speaking to You from Rock Bottom by Michael Ondaatje. Before I actually begin explaining all the little processes and things that I had to do to make my piece, along with my explication of the different elements, I'm going to quickly give a breakdown of the theme and the moods of the poem. From what I was able to collect, the theme of the poem seems to be representing or seems to be speaking about emotional isolation when in conflict with inside of a relationship and how that can affect outside factors, and how this conflict could also cause emotional exhaustion. Some of the moods in this poem could be things such as vulnerability, such as nostalgia, reflectiveness, and mainly isolation is what I took away from this poem. The reason that I chose this poem is because I found it really unique the way Ondaatje was able to illustrate the idea of isolation in interpersonal relationships. I feel like this could best be seen in the first stanza when he's talking about Go boards and Go tablets along with the rains isolating him. Not directly saying isolating, but in more of the connotative sense. There was multiple steps in creating my piece. The first thing that I did was paint a canvas brown to create the base, the Go board. The second thing that I did was try to create a grid with two different types of pens. I used a fine line black pen and then a Sharpie for the outside outline of the Go board. The third thing that I did was I cut out a bunch of these really small Go tablets in which I painted two pieces of cardboard black and white to cut them out in circles. The fourth thing that I did was I hot glued the figurine in the middle to be surrounded by all the Go tablets. The fifth thing that I did was that I cut out cardboard strips, painted them red, and then glued them together to create the heart. And the last thing that I did was put string around the wrists of the figurine to show how they were bounded to the heart. The first element that could be observed in my piece is the most obvious one, the one that's centered around the whole piece, and it's the Go board along with the Go tablets. The reason why I chose this is because in the first stanza, Michael Ondaatje talks about being surrounded talk like Go tablets, and I found this like a really interesting metaphor to how being isolated could be visualized. The second reason that I chose the Go board to be the foundation or the heart of my piece is because I feel like it represents the foundation of life very clearly. When I saw the grids or the lines on Go boards, I really thought of that as how life should be seen as structured. But then when I saw the Go tablets, you could see how unpredictable life really is. The board and the grid shows, oh, this is how life is supposed to be lived, but then the Go tablets show the actual reality of it. And I really liked how I could use that to show isolation, especially with the figurine in the middle. The reason that I actually chose the figurine is because I wanted to show the perspective of the author in this visualized, embodied sense in my piece. So I decided to use a modeling sketch figure that I bought, and I decided to put it in the middle of the piece. I really like how it's anonymous and it doesn't have any defining or like identifying characteristics of any gender or anybody, and it's just able to allow the person who's looking at the piece to just put themselves in the place of the emotion that I'm trying to convey of isolation. The next two elements I'm going to have to explain in conjunction with each other. So, first off, we have the red cardboard, which I used to create two parts of a heart that join together. Now, in conjunction, I also added two pieces of string that attached to the both of the wrists of that figurine in the middle. Now, I had both of those pieces of string attached to two sides of the heart, trying to show how the figurine was being pulled apart or emotionally exhausted by all this conflict being represented by the Go tablets. Now, I'm trying to show with this stretching out of the figurine by the heart how he's trying to hold together his family or his friendships or his familial relationships with his children, which is what the heart is supposed to represent. It's supposed to show how he's being completely run thin through this conflict whilst also trying to hold together his family or partnership. Now that we're done talking about stylistic elements, I'd like to touch base on the elements of design. One element of design that's really noticeable is the colors of the piece. When we look at the colors, we can see how the mundane, really dark and muddy brown contrasts off the really bright, striking red of the heart. Now, I'm going to talk about why I chose the medium that I chose for this poem. I chose mixed media, and it connects the theme in this way. It adds a lot more depth and texture. Mixed media allows for layers and physical elements that reflect the emotional complexity of the poem. I feel like a canvas or a painting wouldn't have been able to represent the complexity because it's so flat. The second reason is because it represents a lot more emotional weight. Using things like string and wood gave a lot more of a sense of heaviness, showing the speaker's emotional exhaustion and isolation. The third reason is because I feel like it shows the messiness of relationships. Obviously, one of the core themes is relationships or interpersonal relationships with a partner or children, and I feel like the different materials reflect how relationships aren't clean or simple. They're layered, fragile, and tense. The fourth reason is because of the symbolic use of materials. I feel like each of the materials that I chose actually means something, such as the string showing tension, the wooden man showing how the speaker could be anyone, the heart showing vulnerability, and the go board showing repetition in life. The fifth reason is because it breaks away from traditional formats. I feel like mixed media let me move beyond just a flat canvas, just like how the poem moves beyond surface level emotion. In the end, this piece is my personal response to Ondaatje's poem. By using mixed media, I was able to express the emotional weight, the tension, and the complexity of relationships, and how the poem explores those things. The go board, the string, the heart, and the figure all come together to show what it feels like to be at rock bottom, tied to love, stuck in repetition, but also still holding on. It's not just about showing the poem visually, it's about feeling it, building it, and making its message real in a physical 3D space.